Good morning everyone and welcome to Road Safety. Up there is a phrase. Let's have a look at it. It won't happen to me, but it will happen to someone today. We don't like that phrase in the fire service, especially the second word. What do you think possibly we might be able to change that word to? Any ideas? Have a think. How should we be really thinking around our roads and then think about changing at least the second word, maybe even a different word? How about if we change it to, it might happen to me and hopefully it won't happen to anybody today? If we actually thought like that, potentially we would save one more life every single day on the UK roads. That is a 20% saving in road deaths every single day, just by the way we think. That's a lot when you think about it. Obviously, being road safety, we have to have a quick history of the motor car, but not the Bugatti, I'm afraid. So, in 1894, Mr. Henry Hewitson, he's the man at the back there with the big fetching moustache, he purchased the first car in the UK for £80. That £80 today would give you £12,500 cash. It's a lot of money back then. It's still a lot of money today. So don't go wasting it. Just 2 years later, in 1896, that lady circled up there, Bridget Driscoll, with her family surrounding her there, was unfortunately the first person to become killed on the UK road networks by something which you could probably walk faster than. Top speed, about 3.5 miles an hour. Had a really heavy engine at the back and really thin, heavy wheels. It looked a bit like this. A three-wheeled pram. Yes. Not a good thing to get run over by, especially when there's only 6 in the whole of the UK. Poor old Bridget managed to find one of those 6 cars, get her dress caught in the rear wheels, and unfortunately was sliced in two. So it wasn't really that nice for poor old Bridget. So what are we doing today? What we call in the fire service inattention blindness. Now if you do fall asleep like that does in the slide, then you should really start adjusting your bedtimes to a bit earlier at night. So who's got one of those things up there on the screen? A mobile phone. Just about everyone nowadays. Who thinks they can cause blindness, injury or death? Okay. So for the rest of you who don't think they can do that, they can. They can unfortunately steal your attention when they're near the roads, and that can result in you losing your life. So plain and simply, leave your phone in your pocket, because the last thing you want to happen is to walk out in front of a car and go bang. So let's face it, if you're not paying attention in class, it's not really going to hurt you, is it? Unless you've really, really wound up your teacher, or it's a science lesson gone really wrong. But if you don't pay 100% attention on the roads, it can end in disaster. This is a what happens next picture. What do you think happens next? The actual correct answer for what happens next is she walks into the lamppost. Yes, you've got it. We've turned round and we laugh at her because we see her do it as she's done it. But it really hurts her feelings. She can't figure out why she's done it. It's the same reason people walk out in front of buses on Castle Meadow. They make the most horrendous noise. They're the size of a house. They make you cough as they get closer because of all the fumes. We just don't see them. And even in the early hours of the morning, we still walk out in front of little or no traffic on the road.
But it's not just mobile phones, it's any handheld portable device which detracts your attention from what you're meant to be doing in the first place. In this case, the simple task of crossing the road, something we've all done from an early age. This is what will happen to you if you walk out in front of a car. Don't worry, no gory pictures because they wouldn't let me design it. Here you can see Mr. Crash Test Dummy. Keep an eye on that line above his head. This car was doing 30 miles an hour in the test and it's just shattered your knee. Now after 2 to 3 hours in A&E, you've gone upstairs and you've had a 2 or 3 hour operation as well. Who would like to see what their knee now looks like? Well, you're going to anyway, so here it is. 14 screws and 2 plates. But the surgeon forgot to tell you one important thing. That in 9 to 12 months, when it's all healed up, they're going to take you back into surgery and have it all taken back out again, because it can't stay in your knee, because your knee constantly grows for your lifetime. So it has to come back out. They'd have used the tools in the picture on the outside to do the operation, and the ones in the middle are probably what Mum and Dad have around the home. But don't let them get any ideas. Just because they've seen Holby City or Casualty does not mean they can operate on you. Please go to the professionals. You'll see in the next one, your pelvis has just been shattered. So that's the bit around your hip area. Unfortunately, what happens is if your pelvis gets shattered badly enough, your legs can detach from their sockets. So surgeons will then try and piece it back together with screws and bolts. And in about 5 to 6 years, hopefully it will all be healed, and you'll go up for another operation of up to 8 hours in length to have all those screws and bolts took back out. Car bonnets aren't your friends. Stay away from car bonnets. Now, what's the next thing? Well, the lines disappeared. That's because your body weight has now transferred to the bonnet of the car. Your side has hit it as well. Your organs are in effect doing a washing machine cycle inside your body. Now, just like you're washing at home, your organs are now banging into each other. And when they do that, they get bruised. And then they start expanding. So that's your heart, your lungs, your liver, your kidneys. The only problem with that is they don't know when to stop. That is the biggest killer in road traffic collisions, is internal trauma you cannot see at the roadside. Now, what's the final thing to hit that car bonnet at high speed? Well, it's your head. Your brain is really important. It's the only part of your body which has the ability to fix, mend and repair itself. The only thing is, sometimes your body doesn't have enough energy to do that. Now, why do we say these horrible, nasty things? Because we never want you to end up on that stretcher. We want you to go around your everyday lives and never come into contact with the emergency services in an emergency situation, because that means you're nice and safe and really, really happy.
So do you think drivers are always looking out for you? No. Unfortunately, sometimes they're doing a few silly things, like this. Driving at 70 miles an hour whilst reading a book. That took the police over 2 miles to pull him over, and when they did, the reply was, I was trying to get to the end of the chapter. That's not really a good thing on our roads, is it? Salespeople turning round and checking their orders and emails as they're driving along. People on their mobile phones. Lorry drivers on their mobile phones. 44-ton lorry drivers driving whilst texting. It's not a good thing. Leave them alone. People doing their nail varnish and having a shave on the road to work. Does happen a lot of times on the UK roads. Per day. And in the top picture on the right hand side, Miss Multitask UK. She really is doing just about everything she possibly can behind the wheel, apart from driving the car correctly. She's doing her mascara with one hand, she's on her mobile phone on her shoulder, and she's also got a drink in her hand. She's not got any control of that vehicle whatsoever, and she's not even looking at the road, she's looking in the mirror in her visor. Not a good instance. If she's around, we don't want to. Stay at home. But we're also doing silly things like this as other road users. Noise cancelling headphones, please don't use them around the UK road networks, because your attention is going to be to the music, not what's going on around you. In fact, don't use any headphones if possible around the roads, because you want to be able to hear as much as possible. Someone might be speeding around out there and you might get squished. Okay? Riding a bike whilst texting, you should get the same as a car driver does, a really big fine, because 2 seconds earlier the car in front slammed its brakes on. You went flying through the rear windscreen, Supermaned out the front windscreen and underneath the wheels of the car. Trust me, the outcome would not be good, because you didn't put the most important thing on this morning. You didn't put your crash helmet on. Always wear a crash helmet. Norfolk roads are renowned for potholes, and if you get your cycle tyre stuck in a pothole, you usually go flying over the handlebars and end up, yep, hitting this. Protect it. If you're walking out in the road, leave your phone in your pocket. Nice and simple. Noise cancelling headphones, like we were saying, can make you lost in music, and you could end up like the sign in the bottom corner. Crossing the road, something we all take for granted, but we shouldn't. If you're going to cross the road, plain and simply, please take your hoods down. Even if it's raining and you're going to get your hair wet, it's going to save your life. Trust me, Mum and Dad want to see you at the end of the day and know how good and bad your day's been, and your teacher even wants to see you at school. If you get in a car and the driver does the picture there, instantly turn around and ask them to stop. Or you'll do whatever you need them to. If they still refuse, turn around and say, I'm going to be sick in the car. Because instantly, guess what? The driver pulls over to the side of the road. They do not want you to be sick in their car. Then you can get out and you can say, the only way I'm going to get back in is if you turn around and put the phone in the glove box. Then you can continue your journey nice and safe, because those poor people in front of that car are going to get hit because she's not paying attention to them. These are the past 5 years of road traffic collisions where people went to hospital by ambulance only. The green ones, relatively low injuries, cuts, scrapes and bruises. The yellow ones, life-changing, life-altering injuries, possibly up to a 2-year stay in hospital with an amputation or severe spinal trauma. And the red ones, they're the fatalities. Unfortunately, they're no longer with us. There are also a further 26 red more dots to go on that map. Every day, 500 people are seriously injured on the UK road networks, and at least 5 people will die today alone. Is anything I've said to you rocket science? No. So plain and simply, we don't need a really posh equation like that to go to space. No. Only if we want to work for NASA we'd need something like that. We just need 3 simple words. Stop, look and listen.